Alrighty, gang, how are y'all doing today? I hope you're having a great start to your new year. It is Monday, January 1st, 2024, and I thought I would do a little review video of my dump trailer here, my MAXX-D. Had it for not quite a year now, but I've used it quite a bit, and it's holding up pretty good so far. But I just thought I'd kind of do a little review of it again and talk about things I do like and things I don't like and so on. So I'm going to start up here in the bed where the hitch is. It's got a pretty stout coupler. Oh, what does it say on here? The 30,000 pound coupler on there, so way more than what the trailer's rated for. Got a breakaway cable hooked up here. Got the safety chains. It's manual lock on there, latching mechanism, whatever you want to call it. I know some of the ones, some of them come with a spring-loaded one, so when you set it down on the ball, it automatically latches. This one doesn't do that. It would be nice if it did, but it's not a deal killer for any means. And it works great the way it is. It's easy enough to get on and off, and I don't have to mess with it too much. So, and I don't take it on and off a lot, so it doesn't really matter. We got the big gooseneck assembly right here. It's very, very stout. I believe those are 10-inch I-beams, and 10-inch I-beams around the frame. Actually, these I think are, no, I believe they are 10-inch I-beams around the frame. This is a heavy trailer. I've got it derated just for registration purposes, but the trailer itself is rated at a gross weight rating of 17,500 pounds. The trailer itself weighs about 6,300 pounds, give or take. So it gives me 11,000, almost 12,000 pounds of payload in the trailer if I need it, if I want it. And I've actually had more than that in there. I've had 6.5 to 7 tons of gravel at a time in there, and it handles it absolutely no problem. Tow's great. It transfers probably 4,000 pounds onto the truck. And it just handles it fine, no problem at all. Dumps it without even thinking about it. This telescopic ram here in the front does a fantastic job of that. I believe that's rated at 25,000 pounds lifting capacity. So again, way over built for what the trailer is actually capable of. Up here we have our toolbox. Inside the toolbox we have some tools. We've got our bungee cords, some trash bags, just few little odds and ends. Over here we've got our batteries and our hydraulic pump and hydraulic reservoir. And then on the side we've got a charger. This is built-in charging system, so when it's plugged in, that thing keeps the batteries charged up. And then over here, this little guy, I added that. I wired that into it, and let's see if I got it here in my pocket. Gives me this remote control. I got this at Harbor Freight. It's actually a winch remote control, and it's wired in down here, so I can be away from the trailer, around the back, behind it, out of the way. This is the remote that comes with it, and it's, I think, a 15-foot cable, which is actually not quite long enough to get actually behind the trailer. So so the remote is nice. It simplifies things. Got the 2 big drop leg jacks. These are 12,000 pound jacks, one on each side. Nice and sturdy. When they're down and it's sitting on it, it's not going anywhere. There's no danger they're going to collapse or anything, even with the big full load. It's got the roll-up tarp, the manual tarping system, which is pretty nice. It seems to work really well. The tarp is very durable. It holds up well. One thing I did do to it was I added grommets down the sides of the tarp. I thought it had them, but when I first rolled it out, it didn't. So I added some on there so that I can bungee it down to the side of the trailer easily. And then I added a strap in the middle. You can see it just hanging down there. That is, I have a long piece of that same material in my toolbox, and that way I can use that to pull the tarp over the back of the trailer. It's a lot easier when it's just a one-man operation to spread that tarp out when there's a load and there's stuff sticking up in there and whatnot. So the tarp system works really well. The one thing I wish was a little better is this mechanism here is a little wobbly. I think it's just a matter of me putting a different spacer behind it and maybe a slightly longer bolt, and that'd probably take care of it. But just little things. Otherwise, I mean, the trailer's been really, really good. It's functioned really, really well. It's got a toolbox underneath. You can see the bottom of it hanging down there. 16 ply tires, very heavy duty. They hold up, have held up very, very well. I've used the trailer quite a bit, but it really doesn't have very many miles on it because they don't haul it really far. So the tires are going to last a long time, I hope. But they're very stout, and each one is rated at almost 5,000 pounds payload for each tire. I think it's 4,900 pounds each. So again, way overbuilt for what the trailer is actually rated to do. It's got the dual spreader gate and barn door style gate. So you can have it either way you want. You can open the doors like barn doors and swing them out of your way, or you can just pop the bottom here with this lever, pop this out, and set some chains in there. There's a little slot here, and it pins over here. You set a chain at set the length of how wide you want that to open when you're spreading gravel, and that works really well. Let's see what else we got. It's all LED lights. Again, one of the things it's not a deal breaker, but it's a little disappointing, is that this light over here on this side, which would be the passenger side tail light, the plug on it is all jacked up, and that had to have come that way from the factory. The prongs are bent, and it's kind of was jammed in there, and so the plug wants to work itself out frequently. So I've had it apart, and I've straightened those pins a little bit and got it in there a little better. It seems to be holding on better now. But again, it's a small thing. You know, you'd wish coming from the factory that they wouldn't have done that they would have noticed when they mashed that plug in there and bent it, and they would have replaced it. When you spend this much on a trailer, you kind of expect that it's going to work and everything's going to be good on it. I'm going to go ahead and open these doors up. This would be your barn door style. You can swing the two doors open. So the trailers, the finish is holding up really good. I've had rocks and gravel and every kind of trash, drywall, wood, lumber, nails, all kinds of junk in here, and it's holding up really well. I mean, it's scratched up, which it's going to be, but the powder coating on there is holding up really good. So I don't have any issues with rust. As I say that, I'm seeing a little bit of rust there around the bottom edge of that lip where it's welded, but again, it's a dump trailer, so if it gets a little beat up on the inside, it's not a big deal. It's what it's for. Got the D-rings welded in. These two here on the back, on the sides, they're nice. I like having them, but they have actually hung up a couple of loads where stuff was sort of wide and big and bulky sliding out, and it hooked on that thing, and it actually stopped it and makes it a big pain in the neck when the trailer's all the way up and there's a lot of weight sitting on it to wiggle that stuff loose, or get in there with a pry bar or something, pop it loose without getting squished when it finally does fall out. So I mean, I still like them. I think I'd rather have them in there than not if I was going to be hauling equipment or a side-by-side or something like that. But they do occasionally hang up. I don't know if there's anything you could do about that. Maybe build some sort of a little, like a wedge shape, something that could be welded on there that would help things slide around them. But I don't know. I don't know if it's really that big of a deal. It's got the drop legs on the back for stabilization. There's one on each side, and you can drop those down. If you're loading a piece of equipment in the back and you're using the ramps and you're rolling something real heavy onto the back of the trailer, helps to stabilize it so it doesn't lift up so much on the gooseneck and put so much pressure on the back. There's one on each side over there. I haven't actually used those on the ramps. The ramps are not in there right now. You can see the slots for the ramps, but I took them out because they're really heavy, and if I'm not using them, I don't need the extra weight hauling around with me. I bet they're 150 pounds each. So this ring here is what the door hooks on. There's a chain right here, and I've folded it in half and put this little carabiner style clip on there, so that keeps it tighter against the side of the trailer when I'm dumping or whatever, because otherwise the door is way out here, and you gotta be careful that somebody at the landfill doesn't hook you, or that you, when you're pulling forward, if somebody parked a little close to you and you didn't notice it, you could hook them with that, and I don't want to do that. So let's see what else we got on this side. That's all pretty much the same on this side. I'm gonna lock the chain on this other side. Same thing. I put a little carabiner style deal there. Oops. Hang on, I gotta change hands. Keeps it in tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and raise it up with my remote. This is one part of the trailer that I both love it, and I wish there was a couple of things that were better. I wish it was faster. It is kind of slow going up, but it will lift anything. You can load this thing real heavy towards the front of the trailer with gravel or rock or whatever. It doesn't care. It's going to lift it. It's going to dump it just fine. You're never going to stall this thing out. The scissor lift style ones, if you load them too heavy to the front, you can stall them out where the scissor lift can't pick it up. But this thing doesn't have that problem at all. But it is slow. This one is also gravity down, which I like. It doesn't use up my batteries. But on a day like today, it's kind of a cold day today. It's only 55, 60 degrees probably. So it's a little slower coming down because that oil is real cold and thick inside that thing. And so it comes down pretty slow. I just hit the second stage on the hydraulics. So it's sped up a little bit. The cylinder is smaller now, so it's taking less oil to move it. Here's my underbed storage. Got shovels and rakes and brooms and all sorts of things in there that I use from time to time on the job. Get back here a little bit. So I can get pretty far away. I'm backing up pretty good here, away from the trailer. The remote is still in my hand. That's what I'm using. Just hit the third stage on the hydraulics. Still going up. Getting close to max here. I believe it's about a 46, 47 degree tilt when it's all the way up. There you go, it hit the top. So that's as far up as it'll go, but that's plenty. Nothing ever hangs up in there from friction. The only thing, like I said, it ever hung up on was on those D rings. So there it is with the bed raised up. It is a tall one. It's a 16-foot trailer, 16-foot box. It's 7 feet wide at the bottom between the narrow part, and then it flares out, and it's 8 feet wide at the top. I believe if you measured it all out, the depth, the height, the width, and everything, it's right at 14 cubic yards. If that, filled level flat to the top. I've actually had quite a bit more than that in there with trash. Trash doesn't take up too much space, and it's usually not very heavy. I mean, I've had this thing really, really full, packed full with some loads from junk cleanouts and stuff like that, that you'd think, oh my gosh, that's 10 tons worth of garbage in there, and then you get on the scales at the landfill and it's like 2. So even with drywall and lumber and construction debris, stuff like that, it's really not ever very heavy. The most I've ever had in there is about 2.5 tons when it comes to just trash. The gravel, that's a whole different animal. And I've done some other videos with hauling gravel, and it's it doesn't look like much of a load when there's 6 tons of gravel in that thing. It's barely full up to the top of where the 2 flares are on the side. So if I filled that thing all the way up with gravel, I don't know what that would be, 20 tons of gravel probably. It would be a lot. It would still dump it, I think, but it'd be overloading everything. All right, so let's look underneath the bed. See the spacing on the cross members. I believe those are set at 12 inches apart. 12 at the most. Yeah, they're not 16. I think they're 12s. So it's all holding up good underneath. You can see the powder coating's in good shape. The frames. There's a few spots on the frame where there's some welds up there. You can see some of those dark spots where the weld is rubbing on the frame a little bit, but I mean, that's not a big deal at all. It's not hurting anything. Everything's in good shape. It's very well made trailer. I'm real happy with the build quality of everything. It's very sturdy. I don't have any worry that anything's gonna just break and fall off or bend or anything like that. So I'm gonna let it down. It's nice and quiet coming down. Little quicker on the down than it is going up. That's the first stage, is the fastest coming down. It's the opposite. Well, no, it's not opposite. It's the same. The smaller the tube, the faster it goes, whether it's going up or down. There's less oil to squeeze out of it on that first stage because it's small, or the last stage. Now I'm in the middle stage, and it slowed down some. I'm gonna hit that last stage here in just a second, and it's gonna slow down quite a bit. There, it really slowed down, and part of that's because it's cold. It's not usually this slow when it's coming down, but it's just a cold day. So anyway, guys, this thing, I'm real happy with this trailer. It's an expensive trailer. Paid right at about $20,000 for this trailer. So they're not cheap. Even, you know, all the different brands I looked at, they were all going to be for this size trailer, this configuration. I was going to be somewhere between 17 and 20, depending on which brand I got and which accessories, I guess. This one comes with everything. It's got the nice heavy duty jacks. It's got the drop legs in the back. It's got the ramps built in. This has a 7-gauge floor, which is basically 1/4 inch plate steel. You can see that right there. Very, very stout. So loading big chunks of rocks and concrete and junk in there is not going to bend that floor all up. The sides are 10-gauge. And so you can see that right here. That's like 1/8 inch or maybe slightly bigger than 1/8 inch thick steel on the sides. So they're nice and stout as well. They're really, really sturdy. They've held up excellent through anything that I've thrown at it. Okay, the bed's all the way down. Again, just using a little remote control. Makes it quick and simple. Can have it in my pocket. I can be walking around doing other things while it's dumping. I don't have to be tied to that 15-foot tether. I wish they made an easy way to add one length of cable into it and make it a 30-foot tether, but they just don't do that. I've looked around and it's not easy to do, and it's not cheap. This remote control, I think, was 35 bucks or 36 bucks or something at Harbor Freight. So anyway, guys, overall I'm really happy with this trailer. It's been super great for what I've used it for thus far. I've hauled gravel, I've hauled rock, I've hauled all kinds of junk and trash. I've had it in on rough roads. I've had it in the landfill when it was really, really muddy, pulling it down the freeway at 75 miles an hour. It just works great. I really don't have any major complaints about the trailer at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was a little bit informative. And if you're thinking about buying a dump trailer, MAXX-D is a good one. I mean, there's a lot of good manufacturers out there. MAXX-D is one of the higher end, I think, quality trailers. And I'm really pleased with this one. So I don't think you'd go wrong if you bought a MAXX-D. They are, like I said, they're a little expensive, but you get what you pay for, and they're definitely worth it. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And I will try to keep videos coming. Hopefully I'll be hauling some junk and trash here soon, and I'll be making some videos of that. And I will catch you later.